Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a couple of new makeup products here that I wanted to try with you guys today, and then I thought we'd kind of just do a basic spring makeup look, including an eye look that I've been doing for the last couple days using a very cheap palette that only takes me about a minute to complete. So this one should be fun. I've got a good mix of old and new. We have two new products. We're gonna be trying out one from Persona, one from the drugstore. But before we get into all of that, if you are a new visitor here, welcome to my channel. I hope that you will consider subscribing and make sure that your notifications are turned on. And with that said, let's jump right into it. Okay, so I thought today, rather than using a primer, I wanted to show you guys this Medicube collagen jelly cream that I talked about in last month's favorites video. This is such an interesting product. I kind of consider it like a hybrid moisturizer slash primer, although sometimes I do use this on my skin at night as like a final step because I just love how comfortable this is on my skin. It feels so nice on the skin. In case you missed that favorites video, let me just give you guys another little peek here at how interesting this product is. It looks just like a hair gel. I've used a lot of hair gel in my day, but it feels so nice and kind of cooling on the skin. So we're gonna use this as my initial layer of moisture before we jump into foundation. And I do have very dry skin, so this might not be true for everyone, but I find it to sit really nicely underneath makeup. It feels very thick and rich, but because it's a gel, it's not greasy at all. It really like sinks in to my skin, which I absolutely love. Okay, now let's try this. I've used this many times before. This is an old favorite, my Mise en Snail Repair BB Cream. This is kind of that time of year where I really start to think about SPF and want to reach for my BB creams. This one does have an SPF of 50, and I use shade number 27, which seems to match me pretty good right now. So we're gonna apply this with a brush today. Sometimes I will use my hands to apply a BB cream, but I know not everyone loves using their hands, and as quick as it is to use your hands, I do hate the cleanup afterwards, especially if you're not in your bathroom, you don't have a sink right next to you. It's tough to get your hands clean after getting them full of foundation. I also feel like a brush just tends to waste less product in my opinion. By the way, this is the Persona foundation brush, which is great. This particular shade of foundation, it can be a little bit too light for me in the middle of the summer, but a little bit too dark for me in the middle of winter. But kind of around springtime, or if I'm doing a little bit of self-tanning, which I did just put self-tanner on like 2 days ago, so this should match me just right now. This is such a good one though. I do love the Purito one. I've been enjoying that one too recently, although I don't think the Purito has SPF in it. It doesn't say that it does. I love that this one has the added SPF. Okay, and I'm gonna take a damp beauty sponge. This is my Wet n Wild, which is my last one. I need to go pick up a few more. I keep forgetting. Just make sure that's all blended around the edges. Now let's add some concealer, quite a bit to conceal. Right now I have this spot that might be the largest, kind of like it's under the skin. I don't think it's gonna really like come out all the way. It probably will eventually go down, but it is huge. It's like a third nose. Oh, Mandy, do you have two noses? No. A second nose is what I meant to say. Okay, let's add a little bit of concealer. Let's go with my Hydrating Camo Concealer today. We're gonna mix Medium Sand and Fair Warm together. I really need to pick up a new shade of this. These two shades, I've mentioned this many times, but I love having two shades of a concealer. You can kind of customize to get the right shade depending on where you're using it or what time of year it is, if you tend to fluctuate in shade throughout the year. But both of these are way off. This one is way too dark, and then this lighter one is way too light for me. So we're going to apply those both to the back of my hand, then we're gonna do a little kind of Bob Rossing today and kind of customize these shades depending on where I'm putting them. So we'll take a little bit, like a 50-50 mix over here on the back of my hand. I actually do have one of those little palettes upstairs with the little compartments in it. It would be far too large to use for concealer, but that would be kind of fun. I think I've seen stuff like that on Yes Style before, like weird little gimmicky makeup things like a palette. Use a little bit more of the light, mix that in, and then go right there and then onto the eyelid. Use this same color for these spots in the center of my face right there. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the dark Basically, I'm just picking up and adding to this little swatch I have here. And that we're gonna use on the perimeter of my skin. I also have a spot that came right on top of my dark spot right there. And I'm worried it's gonna make that dark spot like expand once it heals up. I don't know, I think it might have been the Milk Hydro skin tint that just gave me a bit of a breakout. My skin didn't really seem to like that very much. Fortunately, that one just was not a win for me. And again, just mixing those two together. Just with what's left, we're gonna take a little bit of that down here where I've got more hyperpigmentation. I'm just gonna use my sponge to blend that out. This little raised spot right there, which is pretty tiny, but it's gonna make highlighting today very tricky. I have to try and steer clear of that one. Okay, let's set that with just a little bit of powder. Use my RCMA powder today. Let's take the lid. I'm just gonna use a small, this is actually my highlighter brush that I just wiped off. I'm gonna run that in there and start on the eyelids. And put a little bit of that on some of these spots right here. Smile lines, forehead. Okay, let's move on to a couple of new products that we have to try out today. So Persona recently sent me 2 of their Dream Stick bronzers and 1 of their Dream Stick blushes. They have new packaging now. I already have the shade Guava and the shade Mojave, which is one of the best. If you have fair skin, this is one of the best cream blush shades that I own. But I did also want to try out this new shade, which is the shade Sahara. This one's obviously going to be much too dark for me, much more suitable for those of you that have more medium to deep skin tones. But it is a shade I think we can probably get to work. So we're gonna kind of do both. I'm gonna start out with Mojave and then we're gonna add just a little bit of this on top because once you blend this one out, it's a little bit warmer than Mojave is. Just show you guys. See how this one has just a little bit more coolness to it. So we might do both today. Then we'll try out Guava and I might even throw a little bit of MAC Peaches on top of that. So we're gonna go way extra with the cheeks just because why not? So let's start off with Mojave. I just like to go straight. Some people just swipe it on their cheeks and blend it out with a sponge or a brush, but I kind of like to go directly onto the brush itself, then tap it on the back of my hand and then build up from there. Go on the temples a little bit, side of the nose, down the side of the ear. All right, and then let's jump over to this shade. I'm just gonna take a little bit on the back of my hand and kind of pick it up from there. So tap it in, take off the excess, and this one we're gonna go just a little bit higher than where we put Mojave. I love the new packaging of these. Might have to give my other ones, which are not that old, by the way, maybe to one of my sisters, because I do already have both of these shades. So there we have bronzer, very pretty. I love the Persona formula, it's so nice. And then we're gonna go over to Guava. These ones, by the way, I feel like the Dream Stick blushes are a little bit less emollient and creamy than the Dream Stick bronzers are. And I kind of like that. I actually like that they're almost more of a satiny, kind of powdery satiny finish to them. So I'm gonna take this shade, run the excess on the back of my hand. It's a very like warm, pinky peach color. It's pretty pigmented. You really don't need very much of this. Around the edges with my sponge that I use for concealer. And then I'm also gonna run this along my hairline again, just where I might have got a little too much bronzer kind of gathering. There we go, let's add some highlighter. We're gonna take my Anastasia Glow Seeker highlighter today. This I'm gonna try and keep mostly at the back of my, kind of just towards the back here, mostly to avoid this little spot right here. And on the bridge. Okay, let's go on to the brows. Okay, for brows today, we're gonna keep it super simple. I'm just gonna add a little bit of my NYX The Glue in medium brown to my brows today. Normally when I use this brow gel, I actually like to go in first with a brow soap to kind of give them a little bit of a little bit of stiffness because I do like this brow gel, but I have very stubborn eyebrows that do not like to stay upright. They like to fall back down. They're kind of longer, and I obviously don't have very thick brows, so I really need my brow hairs to stand up for me, you know, and they just don't want to. So this one's not quite strong enough on its own, but if I keep kind of brushing them while they dry, as long as I don't touch them throughout the day, they probably will be all right. Okay, we're gonna call that good. Now we're gonna move on to the eyes. Now I have this little palette that I know I've mentioned a couple of times before. I picked it up at Walmart. It's from the brand Relove by Revolution. This is the Coconut Dreams Quad. This thing is amazing. It's super simple and basic, and I actually don't really even like this shade right here, but these 3 shades create the most perfect, quick, everyday eye that is one of the fastest eyes that I think I've ever done. I've been using this for the last couple days. I've used it a lot over the last several months. I think I tried this out several months ago, but I wanted to just show you guys this quick little eye look, uncut, show you guys how quickly this thing can put together an eye look for you. If you can find it at your local Walmart, which is where I found mine, I highly recommend picking it up. I think it's like $3.98. It's under $5 and well worth it. So we're going to just do this with one brush today. I'm just gonna use this brush. This is the BK Beauty A503 brush. Start in the lighter shade here, kind of the peach color. It's a little bit of a peachy brown, and just go through the socket. And I kind of run a little bit of the excess underneath the lash line a bit. The shade's light enough that I don't have to be too careful with it. If it gets a little messy, it's fine. It looks intentional. Okay, then I'm going to take this darker brown right here and just kind of concentrate that just on the tip of my brush. And this one we're going to run right at the outer corner and kind of pull it down towards the lash line. Just feather that in gently. Same on the other side. I said no cuts. I have to film as if I'm not doing cuts. Sometimes I repeat myself, or like I know that I can cut things out while I'm filming, and so let's move on. Going to this shade right here. Let's say almost no cuts. I'm just gonna use that with a brush. This is a good shimmer formula because it applies well with a finger or with a brush. I do like to use my finger a lot of the time, but I know many people do not like to put their fingers in their makeup, or they have very long nails that make it difficult. And there we go, guys. Look how quick and easy that was. That literally took maybe a minute tops. I'm gonna take my sponge and just kind of run that gently under that outer corner just to clean that and kind of sharpen it up just a bit. And then we're gonna add a little bit of liner. Just the usual. I've got my freshly sharpened Wet n Wild here. Whenever these are sharpened, I love a freshly sharpened pencil. I just like to turn it kind of, instead of doing this, I kind of turn it to the side and just almost let the pencil blend it out rather than having to blend it with a tool or with my finger. Makes it easier to kind of keep your line angled just the right way as well. All right, now let's add a little bit of mascara. I have a new mascara that we're trying out today. I picked up the e.l.f. Lash Extender Mascara. I've been wanting to try this for a while. I was a big fan for a very long time of the Thrive Causemetics mascara, and then I just kind of got away from trying that one as I found some other ones that were water resistant that I liked. So I haven't bought it for a couple of years, even though it used to be one of my absolute favorites, and I've heard good things about this one, so I'm curious to try it. I did try out the Milani one that I liked, but it was so wet, it took a long time for that one to dry, and I found it to be just too wet and heavy for my lashes, even though eventually it would dry and kind of removed in the same way that the Thrive Causemetics one did. I just didn't think that one was quite as good as the Thrive one. So I'm very curious to see how this one compares, although it's been a while since I've used that one to compare it to, but we will see if I like it today. So I did already curl my lashes. It's definitely drier than the Milani one, which is good. Obviously the bigger thing with this one might be how it removes. That's what makes the Thrive Causemetics mascara so awesome, is the tubing effect, which I'm assuming this is a tubing mascara. Actually, I don't know that. Maybe it's not. I'm just assuming because the lid is teal that it's a tubing mascara, which as I say that, I realize why would I just assume that? Maybe I thought I read it somewhere, but it was just like a mind trick, like that looks like the Thrive one, therefore they must be trying to dupe the Thrive one. So we'll see. We'll see how it removes tonight. So far so good. I actually like it. It's not the most volumizing, but I think the length's pretty good. It's not too clumpy. Okay, there we have it. Pretty good. It went on really fast. I like how separating it is. It's not very clumpy. Pretty good length. Decent volume. I don't know that it's like some mascaras that I love the most. They make me look like I have more lashes than I actually do. I'm not quite sure that this one does that. I would say it's more of a, I don't want to call it a natural mascara, but it's definitely not giving me the like intense dramatic lashes that some mascaras do, like my Panorama. But I do really like the length and the separation. So we will see how this one wears. I will give you guys an update on that down below once I remove it tonight. I'll see how it removes, how it held up to watery eyes throughout the day. But for now, let's move on to lips. So for today's lip, I want to do something kind of springy and curly. Let's start with this lip liner right here. This is the shade Momentary Bliss from About Face. It's a very vibrant kind of corally, very vibrant. This one's very vibrant, kind of a corally pink, but it makes for the prettiest spring vibrant lip that's still kind of natural. These ones do dry fast, so I would smudge or blend them as you go, whether you use your finger or a brush. Okay, and then we are going to top that with, let's see, I've got Peach Ring from Maybelline, or I've got Peaches and Cream from NYX. These are very similar to each other, actually. Let's do the Maybelline Peach Ring one, because it smells so good. Okay, and last but not least, we're gonna add a little bit of setting spray. It's the e.l.f. Now that everything's done, I'm actually gonna go back and add a tiny bit more blush. I feel like I blended it all out. Just a tiny bit more right on the apples. Okay, I'm gonna take my hair down. Hopefully it's not kinked. Oh, dang it, it is. And here we have the finished makeup look. Let me know what you guys thought about this one. Let me know what you guys thought about this mascara. I know it's been out for a while. I don't know why it took me so long to try this one out. Probably because I have so many mascaras open at one time. Mascara is not one of those things that I'm like wild to go try out something new, especially when I have a few that I really love. But this one, we'll see how it wears. If it wears well, this might be one that I have to add to my must-have list for spring. Keep an eye out for that down below. I will include that update for you guys after I've worn it for a day or two and removed it a couple of times. As for the blushes, I've been a big fan of these Dreamstick blushes forever. I don't think this formula has changed. I think it's just the packaging that changed a little bit. I will read up on these and see, but I do love the new rounder packaging. I like that they're different colors now, because when I have them in the same drawer before with just the cream packaging, they all look the same unless you have the sticker visible. So I like that they're a little bit different now. And of course, everything else I already knew that I loved. I would love to know from you guys, have you tried out this little quad? I've talked about it a few times. It is so incredibly affordable, and it just creates such a good everyday eye look that you just can't beat. These kind of obviously look like the ColourPop quads, but I like these ones better. My ColourPop quads, I do like them, but they shatter very easily, and the shimmers in them have a lot of glitter in them that is pretty, but is not maybe appropriate for every day. Gives you a little bit more fallout. You have to be a little more careful with them. Whereas this thing, I could put this thing on with my eyes closed and probably get an eye look similar to this one right here. But that is going to do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching. And let me give you one last reminder. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that before you leave. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.